Samsung's next foldable may forego a premium material while potentially reintroducing a beloved feature. The company is reportedly considering a switch from titanium to carbon fiber for the Z Fold 8, which could facilitate the return of S Pen support. 1. The decision to move from titanium to carbon fiber in the Z Fold 8 is driven by supply chain concerns. 2. The use of carbon fiber may allow for the restoration of S Pen support as it is less compatible with titanium. 3. Samsung is developing thinner stylus technology, although it has not confirmed whether the S Pen will make a comeback next year. While the Galaxy Z Fold 7 has yet to make its debut, Samsung seems to be reassessing key design elements for its 2026 successor. Although this may seem like a technical issue, the choice of material could significantly impact S Pen compatibility. According to the Korean outlet The Elec, Samsung is evaluating two materials for the backplate of the Z Fold 8, titanium and carbon fiber reinforced plastic. Titanium is currently used in the Z Fold 7 and the Z Fold SD, both of which do not support the S Pen in favor of a more streamlined design. However, sourcing titanium may pose challenges as a large portion of the global supply comes from China, and Samsung is reportedly concerned about the possibility of prolonged trade tension. Carbon fiber reinforced plastic is less spectacular, but Samsung employed it in the Z Fold 3 through Z Fold 6 specifically because it worked better with the electronic medical records digitizer layer needed for S Pen input. And while Samsung's latest foldable ditched stylus support entirely, the company hasn't closed the door on the feature just yet. Last week, a Samsung executive revealed the business is developing lighter and more inventive S Pen tech and may revisit pen support if the new approach is ready and user demand is great. One potential approach might emulate Apple's advanced encryption standard-based stylus input, which doesn't require a digitizer layer at all. Whatever your views on the tariff tensions, if they lead to the return of the S Pen on the Z Fold 8, a particular portion of the Samsung fanbase will be thrilled. From bigger batteries to harder folding screens, here's what Samsung should tackle next. The Z Fold 7 is a huge step forward for Samsung. It's the lightest and probably thinnest folding phone on the planet. That's a big leap over last year's Z Fold 6, which appeared archaic compared to other handsets. Here's the issue though, we're finally at the point where the Z Fold and other folding phones are probably thin enough. They are currently a hair thicker than normal smartphones. If we no longer need slimmer phones, here's what I'd like Samsung to do next with the Z Fold 8. Samsung's recent foldable phones boast IP48 rating, meaning they can tolerate immersion in fresh water but can't withstand dust. In other words, you still have to nurture the Z Fold 7 to some level. That's a shame when you're paying $1,800. It's past time that Samsung adopted an IP58 or IP68 classification for adequate dust protection on the Z Fold 8, since it would make for a significantly more robust gadget. Samsung wouldn't be the first foldable maker to offer both water and dust resistance either. The Vivo X Fold 5 and Honor Magic V5 have IP58 or 59 certification, while the Pixel 10 Pro Fold arrived with an IP68 rating for the first time in a foldable. One of my pet peeves with all foldable phones is that the folding screens are still brittle and feel like soft plastic. Of course, these screens are plastic, albeit with an underlying layer of ultra-thin glass. Nevertheless, it still irks me after all this time. I doubt we'll see folding screens totally built out of glass in the future, but I'd love to see some of glass's qualities come to foldable displays. This features a firmer feel, greater durability so your fingernail won't harm the screen, less glare, and improved oleophobic coating. On the positive side, the Z Fold 7 employs ultra-thin glass that's 50% thicker than before to boost ruggedness. So it's not like Samsung and others have been standing still. I'd also want to see Samsung eventually deliver crease-free foldable screens. This isn't a significant problem for me compared to the fragility and plastic feel, but it is something people notice when using foldable phones. The good news is that the Z Fold 8 could finally address this issue. Most other foldable manufacturers accomplished similar advances thanks to silicon carbon batteries, so we hope Samsung goes this road or discovers a new way to enhance battery capacity. I'm not asking for a large capacity rise either. Even a 5% to 10% improvement would be appreciated, especially for individuals primarily utilizing the folding screen. I'd also love a major increase in charging wattage after 6 straight generations of 25W wire charging. This would be particularly beneficial if Samsung decides to raise the Z Fold 8 battery size. Samsung's newest Fold also ups the ante by introducing a 200MP main camera for the first time in a foldable phone. This camera could give amazing low-light photo quality and good crop zoom, but we have to talk about Samsung's secondary camera. The Z Fold 7 still employs the same 12MP ultra-wide and 10MP 3x telephoto camera seen on the Galaxy Z Fold 4. I don't care too much about ultra-wide camera, although there are reasons to improve the sensor, for example, the low light image quality and stabilized video. However, the aging 3's camera doesn't cut it anymore when you're spending roughly $2,000 for a smartphone. The foldable form factor hinders manufacturers from adopting the greatest zoom camera hardware. However, Samsung's rivals illustrate that there are wonderful options in this area. The Google Pixel 9 Pro Fold opts for range over megapixels with its 10.8 MP5X camera, while many Chinese foldables have high-resolution 3x to 4x cameras. Now, regarding Samsung presenting a fresh solution, there's already plenty to appreciate about the Z Fold 7, but I'd be incredibly pleased if Samsung can implement at least some of these enhancements for next year's Z Fold 8. The Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 8 series could beat the foldable iPhone to the punch. A wider foldable could launch in 2026. According to the South Korean website ET News, Samsung is intending to follow up on the well-received Z Fold 7 with 2 huge folding phones in 2026. One of those full-sized foldables will be a so-called wide fold, which is being touted as a preemptive attack ahead of Apple's arrival to the foldable market later in the year. The report claims that Samsung's new foldable choice would come with a screen ratio that is shorter vertically when folded but longer horizontally. In other words, both screens will be substantially wider than the present Samsung Z Fold 7 offering. The cover display is to be a stouter 18:9 aspect ratio, which will result in a perfectly square 18:18 inside display. Established leaker Ice Universe has provided a concept graphic of what the Galaxy Z Fold will look like over on Weibo. This will mimic Google's approach with the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, but should also match Apple's reported method. What to make of the Samsung Z Fold? It's a fairly unique claim. Is Samsung really intending to introduce 2 allegedly comparable full-sized foldable phones at the same time, with the primary difference being a slightly different aspect ratio? It seems like an interesting plan to us, if so. Surely there'll be more points of divergence when it comes to the larger specification of this new foldable. The report indicates that Samsung is currently ironing down the details on this front, but a strategy should be in place by the end of this month or early October. Of course, this doesn't even consider Samsung's hotly speculated double foldable Galaxy Trifold model, which is scheduled to come as a severely limited edition in November. So that's it for today's video. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to ZDES Tech for more tech news and updates. This is Zadie signing off. See you in the next video. Peace out.